Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I'm Nicole, and the title of my project is The Stone Age Meets the Digital Age, exploring the application of digital three-dimensional techniques for the study of lithic artifacts. It broke. It's 19,000 years old and it broke. I'm not going to name the undergraduate anthropology student who broke this irreplaceable Jordanian lithic artifact and destroyed any hope of studying it in its intact form. But luckily, before it broke, I made this. This is a three-dimensional representation of that irreplaceable Jordanian lithic artifact. New media and digital tools offer us the possibility to experience virtually reconstructed historic sites and cultural material. It was only a matter of time before archaeologists saw the potential of 3D technologies for cultural heritage preservation and artifact analysis. My research seeks to explore the ways in which digital, three-dimensional technologies can enhance the study of lithic material. Today, I would like to focus on the practicality of how this technology can be applied to the study of lithic material, particularly in the field, and the potential limitations and opportunities that this technology presents for the study of archaeology. My methodological approach has included an examination of how 3D techniques are currently being applied in archaeological research, experimentation with photogrammetry, an image-based approach for creating 3D models from 2D images, and training with free 3D software. When talking about 3D technologies, two things typically come to mind: Hollywood and video games. As an undergraduate anthropology student interested in the tool usage of the Upper Paleolithic, I never imagined myself exploring a 3D world to enhance the study of lithic material. I hate computers and computers hate me. So it is ironic that I find myself presenting a method for creating digital models of Stone Age material. 3D is being used in industries across the board. The Human Brain Project has developed a detailed atlas of the human brain, helping the fields of medicine and neuroscience to better understand the inner workings of the mind. And NASA has created 3D models of hurricanes for tracking storm systems. The increasing development of virtual reality technologies, interfaces, interaction techniques, and devices is greatly improving the efficacy and usability of virtual reality. In fact, archaeologists started exploring basic 3D techniques well over 10 years ago. Now, with the development of photogrammetry, not only can objects from the microscale be reconstructed, but the software can be used to digitally reconstruct landmass from aerial photos, as well as produce large environmental reconstructions of archaeological excavations. The Smithsonian and Arizona State University are currently using laser scanning-based methods to create databases of 3D artifacts. However, the methods they use are limited to a lab environment, and the laser scanners they use are costly and require a high level of training and specialization. A 3D approach in archaeology offers a conceptual research tool that allows new interactions with material that is not possible with individual objects, such as virtual refitting sequences, the process of fitting stone flakes back together to reproduce the sequence of events that created the stone tool, and examining multiple artifacts side by side digitally for comparative purposes. Potentially, an online database of 3D artifacts could be accessed anywhere by anyone at any time. The best way to study a lithic tool is still to hold it in your hand, but that is not always possible. Even the most detailed photographs and sketches can only provide a limited amount of information. A 3D rendering of a lithic, like the one I've produced here, can offer tactile information such as texture, color, and flake scarring in a digital space. My goal with this project is to use only technical equipment that is already a part of the standard documentation procedure for archaeological excavations, that this process requires no additional technical training, and can be applied in the field as well as in a lab. Compared to the amount of training that is required for laser scanning, the method that I've proposed requires only a minimal amount of additional training with some 3D software. While there are methods currently being used with much more sophisticated equipment and software, my approach is done only with a digital camera, a tripod, a homemade platform, and the free online program 12-3D Catch. 12-3D Catch is a program that generates a three-dimensional mesh, known as a capture, using the loop closing algorithm that requires an ordered sequence of images taken with a standard digital camera for input. This algorithm requires the camera to move in orbit around the lithic, implying that the first and last camera images share a majority of the same geometry, thus closing the loop. To generate a successful capture, 3 sets of photographs need to be taken. One set around the center, one set around the top, and one set around the bottom of the lithic, with roughly 80% overlap so every angle of the artifact can be represented in the capture. The best captures are produced when this process generates 80 to 120 photographs. I have created 3D captures using the 123D Catch app on my iPhone, but the app is currently limited to 40 photographs per capture, and it required quite a bit of alteration with 3D modeling software. Evenly distributed light, consistency of camera placement, distance from the object, and stillness of the artifact generate the most accurate 3D mesh. It is important to mention that any part of the lithic that is in contact with the platform or prop will not be represented in the 3D capture. To mitigate this issue, I tried to make the contact points as minimal as possible. Soft, evenly distributed light is essential for creating a successful capture, because any change between images, even lighting, can affect the final outcome of the 3D mesh. It is more effective to move around the lithic rather than to rotate it on a turntable, as this can change the lighting or the placement of the lithic. After all the photographs are taken, I load the images to a laptop or desktop computer and further upload the images into 123D Catch. The process of creating a 3D mesh through 123D Catch can take anywhere from 15 minutes to a couple of hours. The amount of modeling is in direct proportion to the quality of the capture. If the 3D mesh contains few holes, has little background interruption, and closely resembles the original lithic, then the modeling process will require less time and less alteration. However, if there's quite a bit of difference from the actual artifact, a decision must be made to either re-photograph or perform a considerable amount of modeling to the 3D mesh. The latter of the two is not ideal, as the goal is to produce a 3D render that is suitable for analysis. Putting a sizable amount of modeling into the artifact may make it look good, but every alteration takes you further away from the efficacy of the capture. I suggest that archaeologists perform the capture and modeling process rather than 3D artists. Archaeologists know what information on the lithic is important and what needs to be retained for research and analytical purposes. Once the final mesh is processed through 123D Catch, I import it into Autodesk Maya. I use Maya because it fits into my requirement that this method be cost-effective, as they offer students their program free of charge as long as the models produced from the software are not for profit. In Maya, each mesh is composed of polygons consisting of faces, edges, and vertices. Each of these components can be manipulated with only a few functions until the size, shape, and relief are an approximate facsimile to the original lithic. The main point that I want to stress here from this process is that the better the photographic capture is, the less alteration is required with 3D modeling software, hence creating a more precise lithic for 3D analysis. I would like to turn to some of the limitations and opportunities of my research. I am not proposing that 3D replace work with actual artifacts. There is nothing as valuable in the analysis process as working with an original artifact. However, when this is not possible, my method is a viable option for disseminating a 3D model suitable for analysis to anywhere in the world with access to the internet. In the few short months of working with this project, what has struck me is how quickly technology advances and how techniques must constantly be refined. Staying on the ball, ahead of the curve, and developing new approaches for emerging technologies is vital. What is current and up to date today may be obsolete in 6 months. A key component of this research is a continuous exploration of emerging technologies so that this method remains relevant. Another limitation I have faced is the dissemination of information. I have found a limited number of online platforms that accepts 3D models up to a certain size to be uploaded for free. But because the files I'm using have the potential to be large, to create a digital catalog of artifacts could be costly. However, as I just stated, technology is constantly evolving, so this may not be an issue in the near future. These methods are still in their infancy, so the online infrastructure for this technology has yet to provide universal accessibility. There are also limitations for the types of material that can be converted to a 3D mesh using an image-based method. reflective materials such as obsidian cannot be understood by software that uses images to create a 3D mesh. And finally, as stated before, there are issues with how to position the material in order to photograph as much of the artifact as possible. I cannot make the lithic levitate, so there will always be some kind of alteration to the 3D mesh where the lithic contacts the platform. I would like to end with some of the opportunities that this method offers the field of archaeology. The first point I would like to make is that I'm an undergraduate student with a very limited budget. And furthermore, I'm neither a photographer nor a digital artist. I barely get along with these two technologies, and yet I have created a successful method for creating 3D models of lithic artifacts. My point? This method is user-friendly, cost-effective, and can be conducted anywhere. This is a tool that can become as much of a part of an archaeologist's toolkit as their travel and total station. Creating a 3D replica of lithic artifacts in the field at first recovery ensures that a digital facsimile of the lithic is preserved. Creating 3D models of artifacts offers an interactive way to catalog archaeological information. And in the classroom, an interactive method for teaching lithics can allow students to be more engaged with the material as well as be accessed by a larger audience. And finally, with the advent of more sophisticated 3D technology such as 3D printing, a detailed replica of a lithic could potentially be studied simultaneously in labs all over the world. The most exciting part of my research is that this is only the beginning. The time that I've spent over the last couple of months devising a method for creating 3D lithics will be put into practical application and expanded upon for my senior honors thesis throughout the next year. Up to this point, 3D imaging, especially in academic research, has appeared to be unattainable and practiced by a few highly specialized individuals. I want the method that I have found successful to be available to anyone that is interested in using it or building upon it. For this reason, I will make my procedure document available through Berkeley's Archaeological Research Facility. I will create a digital, three-dimensional catalog of type specimens using Jordanian artifacts from the Epipaleolithic as a case study for the effectiveness of using 3D models to enhance lithic analysis and the classroom experience. And finally, next summer, I'm excited to have the opportunity to perform this method in the field. The use of 3D in the field of archaeology is just beginning, and the potential uses of these techniques can literally change the way we look at the past. Hopefully, in the not-so-distant future, this technology will be so common that when an undergraduate anthropology student breaks a one-of-a-kind lithic, it will not just be luck that a 3D representation was made, it will be procedure.